Hi, Jim.
Hi. Hi, Lydia.
So you have made the big announcement. The information has gone out. This is the last Sunday that you will be speaking and preaching from the pulpit as
Yeah,
the minister
of
of Ladner
Ladner
United
United
Church.
Church.
You want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, it was quite a decision for me to make. I mean, I have a great relationship here, and for the most part, there might be the odd person, but nobody really wanted me to leave, and I had a lot of encouragement to stay. This is my 37th year of congregational ministry, and when I got encouragement as a young person from people I knew to be a minister, and I had kind of a mystical call experience. I said to God, I'll do this work until it doesn't feel like it's what you want me to do. And that's continued for 37 years. And in the fall, I found myself beginning to think about the future. And one of the things I thought a lot about was having grandchildren and maybe not wanting to be quite as busy in quite a regular and a regimented way. Parish ministry has a pretty regular routine of work that's never done, and I love that. I love being busy, but I've also always had this interest in chaplaincy. And I've done, as I think it said in the newspaper, I've done chaplaincy work, of course, in the military, in a prison, in a hospital, with a transplant team, with in a seniors residence, in a prison. And in some ways, I've always been more, I think, of a chaplain preacher as opposed to perhaps a church builder, like a church grower. I don't think that's where my strengths are. And around the time that I was beginning to think about the future, this opportunity began to be articulated to work with first responders, and to do that half-time, which meets my other criteria of wanting to spend more time with my wife and with my grandchildren. And so it really felt like, I felt like God was saying, this is a good time, Jim, for you to let go of this full-time work, and I've got something here for you down the road that needs to be done, that I think you have some skills at. And I all through my ministry, actually, in congregations, I've always had different people say, "Can we get you into the chaplaincy world?" They tried to get me into the chaplaincy world full-time, and the military, and I just said, no, I think the call is still congregational ministry. And so I'm very lucky because I have a part-time calling that I think is really, really important, with a pretty incredible group of people here in Delta. We're going to stay in Delta. We're not moving. We're still going to be around, but the relationship with the church per se has to be different.
Okay, so what does that mean? So when you make this transition, Sundays is your last Sunday preaching, and what's going to happen after Sunday?
Well, Sunday's my last Sunday preaching, and then I have my holidays and my study leave to take. So technically my retirement is June 30th.
Right.
At least that's when they tell me the first pension check comes in. So I will take my study leave. One of the things I've done is bought $750 worth of books on being a first responder chaplain that I plan to read. I will take my holidays. Cathy and I will hope to get away and to do some things. There will be people doing the Sunday worships for the next 2 months. There will be a supervising pastor appointed, Dan Kierkegaard from Tawasin, until there's likely going to be a supply person come in July, until they make a permanent decision. And of course we have my position to fill, but also with some bequest money that we'd received some time ago, we've been looking for a second person with children, family, and youth. And so I think that's very exciting, because it may be that a team emerges of people that have wanted to work together, or perhaps people apply and we, you folks see a team there, or perhaps a married couple applies. It does mean, though, that my relationship officially ends, in essence, on Sunday with Ladner United, which is kind of hard for people to understand. Well, sad for me too, right? And that's because this is the kind of work where, you get very intimately involved in people's lives, and people get intimately involved in your ministry, and I have to create some space for a new person to come in and to be themselves, and I need to create some space for people to grieve and to transition. For me too, because it'll be hard for me the first time I hear that somebody's died or somebody's been in a crisis, and had I been here. But really, after Sunday, any pastoral work related to the church, funerals, weddings, and deaths, those are things that I can't be involved in. And for an unknown period of time, we are likely not to be here for worship. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to be around. So people, of course, we deal with these things through all kinds of humor. So people will say, well, if we see you in the coffee shop, do we just pretend we don't know you? And I go, well, no, of course not. But you have to realize we're not going to be talking about life at Ladner United Church, and I'm not going to be offering opinions. And, if somebody's not happy with something or whatever, then I'm not the guy to talk to. We talk about the weather or politics or our families or anything like that, but not church. And that, I understand that's hard. It's hard for me too, because it's big. I mean, this has been a part of our lives, Cathy's life, my children's lives for 18 years.
So after Sunday, when everyone sees you in public, and people interact with you because you're here and so Jim, but you're not going to be Reverend Jim of Ladner United Church anymore. You're putting a different hat on. And so when people see you and interact with you, it's still okay, it's still great, we still have a good relationship, but they have to remember that the hat you're wearing is
not Ladner United Church.
That's right. So
and
they'll see you as Jim Short. And
that's right. And after a few months, they'll see me dressed a little differently, and in a and I'll be Jim Short, chaplain of the Delta Police and Delta Fire Department, which I'm very, very excited about.